Okay. I'm on, and I'm just gonna go here so I can see if anybody is on. So let me get on my Facebook as well. Oops, gotta turn that off. Alrighty. Okay. All right, so we are on. Hi, everybody. Again, this is Monica Karaoke, and today, as promised, I have Abidah Chiera here. And Abidah has actually she was diagnosed, I think it was sometime last year, she was diagnosed with spinal cord inflammation. Abidah has not been able to work since last year. And as a Kenyan, as somebody living in diaspora, I have participated in fundraisers. I actually belong to a group, a benevolent fund. And I just thought, I know Abidah, I know her story, but I just thought that if we could educate people out there on the resources that are available, and probably tell you what has been able to help Abidah to get to where she is today, that education is knowledge. So I'm going to let Abidah introduce herself, and then she'll walk us through from when she was diagnosed, how she got sick, and where she is today. So, Abidah, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, as you hear, my name is Abidah Chiera. And I'm a professional nurse practitioner, and I have worked in this country, have given my life for 24 years working. But it was very sudden and unfortunate date that I remember, December 10th, 2017, when I got from work, and then all of a sudden I couldn't feel myself below the belly button, and I couldn't get out of the tub, and I was scared because the water was going up. I couldn't feel myself from the belly button down, and I knew I was dying. And the first thing I did is to get out of the bathtub, and then I knew in a couple of minutes I would not be very conscious to call 911. I was living alone. So fortunately, I struggled to get out, and I called 911, and I told them my address, and that's all I can remember. The next thing, I woke up in the hospital, but I could not feel myself. And I was in the hospital for a long time, for 3 months. And in the process, they had done all the...
Before we get to the hospital, so you were in the bathtub. I just want us to go step by step so that people can actually understand how you got here. Yes. So you were in the bathtub. How did you even get out of the bathtub? How are you able to call 911? And that's right here.
Yeah, actually... I got from work. I had finished work. In fact, I was planning to head on to Maryland. And I got in the bathtub, and I couldn't get up. I just fell, not fall, but I just stooped down. And after I stooped down, I couldn't get up. So I struggled to get out of the bathtub. And as you all know, that from the belly button down, the body is heavier than the upper torso. Yeah. And I struggled to get out. It took me, I remember I got in the bathtub at 2:35. And it was docked that the ambulance came in at 5:25, meaning I struggled to get out of the bathtub maybe at 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then when I got off the bathtub, I had to go to the bedroom to get the phone.
So you had to crawl?
I had to crawl, not like a child, but like pull myself with the stomach, because up to the navel down, I was dead. So I got to the bedroom, and my phone, fortunately, it was on top of the bed. So I pulled the bed covers, and I got to the telephone, And obviously, I had to crawl again to get something to wear from my closet. And all this time, crawling from one point to the other was taking like 30 minutes because you are crawling on your belly and half of you is dead. And when I called the 911, I knew I had to crawl all the way to the door, which was like 15 feet from where I was, to open the door. But I got to the door, but fortunately one of my door, it had a code, so I gave them the code. Okay. And when they...
Could you have reached to the doorknob if you had to reach to the doorknob at the time?
No. This time I was done. Because all I have now, also I was awake, and I was really losing strength of my hands. So, lady, I was not capable of even opening the doorknob. So I had already called the code, and I had told them that the upper door is open. Normally, I just locked with the code. Normally, that's what I did. So by the time they got there, that was it. I didn't know myself, and they took me to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, I remained a Jane Doe because they forgot to get my IDs. They didn't carry my IDs. As a matter of fact, they didn't even carry my phone.
Wow.
So I was really a Jane Doe until a week later when I woke up.
Wow.
And I woke up in this place. I didn't know where I was. So they told me the name of the hospital, and I didn't even get the name of the hospital.
Wow.
And they asked me, they could ask me my name, but Lily, I couldn't remember all that. And from there is how I started the journey of being in the hospital. And apparently during that period of time, the first 3 days, they were just doing diagnostic tests because they were not familiar what's wrong, because they didn't ask me whether I have any history or medical history. They didn't know me that well. So they did all the tests. They did CT, CTA, MRI, MRA. They did echocardiograms. They did EEG. They did, all the tests, EKG, and everything actually was coming up negative. They did the blood work, nothing. The only thing I had depleted of was vitamin D. But from just vitamin D,
that doesn't explain why you still couldn't feel your legs.
Yes, still could feel my legs. So fortunately, I was kept in the ER first, so they could start treatment. But nobody had an idea what treatment to start on.
Right.
So what they did is to call one of the neurologists. A known neurologist in Dallas-Fort Worth area. And when she came, she said that they start sodium medro right away.
For the sake of our viewers, explain to us, what is that?
What happened? She diagnosed me with transverse myelitis, which means inflammation of the spinal cord, or the lesion of spinal cord at a certain level.
Was this after your CT scans, or was this...
No, she just came with, after she saw the symptoms that I was showing, she came up with a diagnosis, transverse myelitis. And quick enough, I was given sodium medro, 1,000 milligrams, mini bags at the same time, before they even diagnosed. If I had gone to the hospital where they depend on diagnosis, I couldn't have survived. But the doctors in this hospital decided to start treatment, then diagnose. And so she started a quick treatment. And after the first 2 bags of steroids, very high steroids, 1,000 is pretty high steroid. That's when I started my upper now. My hands started waking up, and for some reason at that point I started coming back, knowing what is going on.
So are you saying, because initially it was just from your navel down, so are you saying that it was progressing to where now you couldn't even feel your hands, your fingers?
Yes, it was progressing where I couldn't feel my fingers. And the shock of it, I guess, all that combined together, I think that is what was making me little lose the consciousness of where I was. And like I say, I was diagnosed as transverse myelitis, which is inflammation of the spinal cord. It's a very rare disease, but unfortunately it's very common with women and children. In fact, even the other day they were featuring flaccid myelitis, which is also similar to transverse myelitis, on CNN. Okay. And, doctors really don't know how to deal with it. And transverse myelitis, it don't have actual known cause. They can't pinpoint it's caused by this or that. It can occur even simple immunization. And because I didn't have any history at all, I didn't have any medical history. In fact, on December 4th, I had seen my doctor for the annual checkup and I was okay. And then 6 days later, I'm dead from the navel down. Right. And personally, I have practiced for 23 years. I have never heard of transverse myelitis. Right. I have heard of spinal cord inflammation, which is a concurrent of transverse myelitis and spinal cord inflammation, which can be caused by infection or even like I say, immunization. Okay. It can be caused by toxins in the house, the cleaners you use. It doesn't have very specific cause of transverse myelitis. But the thing is, what you suffer from it is what is detrimental. Because once you suffer from transverse myelitis, which is injury or lesion to the spinal cord, your brain cannot communicate with your spinal cord. Mm-hmm. And as you know that stimuli is sent from the head to wherever actions the other organs do. Right. Like if it is the brain, you tell your finger move, or your toes move, or your leg, bend, or your bladder hold your urine, or pain move, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I look at it as like a charger, electrical charger, or the phone charger. When you have it and the neck is broken, it cannot transmit the electricity. Right. That's the same thing that happens with the head and the spinal cord. They can transmit through the myelin sheath. And as we went down the road after 3 weeks now, that's when they did a spinal tap, which was negative. And then the neurologist decided to do another spinal tap. But this time the microscopic was times 20 to see whether there is a lesion on the myelin, because the spinal cord is full of many myelin sheath which transmit. And as they were doing that, they saw that the injury was on one side of the myelin sheath. That's why there was no communication. But unfortunately, I had very detrimental side effects, because I kind of like died from the belly button down. Nothing was functioning. My GI stopped working. I could not digest food. Wow. I could not push. I could not go to have bowel movement. I lost the bladder. But fortunately, the kidney, as you know, is situated in the back. That one is still functioning. Is functioning. And then I lost the movement of my feet. I couldn't move. I lost the ability to turn because the spinal cord, you turn, but I couldn't turn. Wow. So I really just sat there as a dead person. And actually, I lost all the nerve on my legs from the belly button down. I didn't have any pain receptors, which was okay, I guess. I don't like pain. And I didn't have any feelings, either touch. I couldn't tell the difference between heat and cold, which I still can't tell. Up to now. I can't tell with my legs whether it is cold or warm or hot. I can't tell. Wow. And I lost that all around, all around my belly button to the back. Yeah. So with that said, our vascular system is blood moving down and up, meaning the valves. I lost the movement of the valves on the arteries, so there was no blood that could be pushed to the legs because I had to lay up so that blood can go back to the heart. Wow. Yes. So what happened in that situation, I started throwing off. My skin started throwing off. I was dead. Wow. And the doctors did not have hope for me to survive. Mm-hmm. In fact, there were 3 times that I was faced with death, 3 times. And they had given up. In fact, they could not imagine that I would get out of the hospital alive. But the sad part is that now you know yourself from the top. You understand, like when visitors came to visit me, especially visitors from Fort Worth and Dallas and Baltimore area, they came to see me. I could see them, I knew them, but I'm dead from belly button down. What was more, actually the most fatal is the GI. Because you can die instantly with a bowel staying in your system, and these are toxins in your system. Yeah. And they couldn't come out. They couldn't do normal have a stuck up with bowel movements. They can use medication to bring it down. Yeah. But this time. Tell them to be quiet.
Guys, unfortunately, I think we have a visitor coming to probably see Abidah. I am gonna have my helper over here open the door and tell them to be quiet. Just put it up there somewhere. Yeah, hold it. Yeah, there. And also, too, I didn't explain to you that Abidah is healthcare industry, and so she's gonna speak some of these big words. But she's educating you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Abidah.
So with all that said, so with all that said, is that all this is happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And now with the sodium medro, the steroids, I started swelling out. And then my body was very swollen. And then the same neurologist decided to start on IVIG, which is a very expensive treatment, which one bag is $5,000. But I was given 7 courses. They had to be approved by the administration. And after the first bag, my right leg started moving, but it did not recover to have the nerve knowing whether it's cold or warm or pain. I didn't have any pain stimuli, which is fine. Yeah. To this day, I don't have it. And I don't have, like I said, to touch. I don't have a lot of sensories were eliminated. Yeah. And in the course of time, I was given good treatment. In fact, there was a time I was given plasmapheresis to remove all the antibodies because my body is not working. So I have infection now because I'm not worried, no bowel movement, so I'm not really processing food. So anyway, I got infection, and then I was put on antibiotics for a long period of time for 16 weeks. And then it came a time where they had to use PPN, feed me through to the blood system because my body was... You were not eating? No, I couldn't eat because I didn't have the GI system, yes. And all that is going on, and really, you are worried about survival at that point. Yeah. That was basically what I was. But I was surrounded by people who gave me the hope to live. Yeah. And really, I never really thought of giving up. Although the doctors, the nurses had given up on me. Mm-hmm. I never came to that point where I wanted to leave the world, but there was times that you felt, why go through all this? And but surrounded with friends and prayers really kept me going.
So this one time I came to see you at the hospital, and you had an infection, and it gave you a scare. Tell us about that.
Yes, what happened is with the food that I had eaten maybe a week before, 2 weeks before, it was still in my stomach because I lost the peristalsis of the GI system. Yeah. I was not having bowel movement. So I got a layer infection. They call it hysteria. Yes. Yeah. And it's very deadly. So when you came, I remember I was sweating. Mm-hmm. They had covered me with ice all over the place, which I couldn't feel. Mm-hmm. But if you are covered with ice... And
even with that infection too, it was difficult for them to diagnose, right?
It was difficult to diagnose because here you are with all these medical problems. Yeah. Because transverse myelitis is not the problem, it's the effect of transverse myelitis. Mm-hmm. The brain and the body is not communicating. Yeah. And they are giving you a lot of antibiotics. They don't even know which antibiotic they are going to treat you on. And after you get the antibiotics, okay, the kidney is eliminating all that. Mm-hmm. But the acid of it was giving me side effect. Mm-hmm. And it causing more inflammation, making it even worse. Wow. Yeah, that's why my body just kept on swelling. And then with the steroids, my blood pressure went up. I think there was a time it was 337/110. Wow. And my blood sugar one time, because of the steroids, went to 400. They didn't know what to treat because they don't want to treat that and have side effect on it. Mm-hmm. So it was like a train wreck. Yeah. But in the end, they had given up that I will ever work. In fact, they said the best choice for me to be discharged to is a nursing home for palliative care. Yeah. And the time came, I talked to the doctor and I told him that if I went to the nursing home, chances say I'll not make it out. I begged the doctor to send me home. And I think you came one time.
We talked about
the nursing homes, the options and all that. And and then they came to interview for the nursing home. Right. And fortunately, by that time my insurance had lapsed. The insurance, because my insurance was out of state. So when the nursing home people came, I didn't have insurance. That's what saved me. So they couldn't take me. That's what saved me.
Right. So your only option at that point was to go home.
Yeah, the only option, I had maxed out being in the hospital. And, the administration of the hospital had okayed me to stay as long as I'm having treatment.
Okay.
But my neurologist, the urologist, and the rheumatological doctors had reached the maximum of what else from here. What else are we treating here? Right. Because really they don't have the proper diagnosis. They have the symptoms, but the diagnosis, transverse myelitis, is not treatable because what do you do with a spinal cord? You can perform surgery on a spinal cord. When it is transverse cut, is usually transverse. So I got decubitors, third degree decubitors.
You're talking about you got wounds, right?
Wounds, yes. I got wounds all over me.
Yeah.
Some of them.
And that's because of pressure. You're laying down.
It's pressure, laying down, and I'm incontinent.
Yes.
Not like, large amount of incontinence. Because a normal person per day, you can urinate, I'll call it, about 2,000 mils, and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I was producing 14,000 a day, meaning whatever was put in me was coming out. Wow. There was no way the hospital could have kept me away from getting skin tear. It was not possible.
Yeah.
And I understood it was not possible. No matter how much they turned me. They turned me this side, and here I am.
Because you are Latin oriented, you could have been able to tell them, hey, I think I need to be turned this way. You could look at the clock and know, it's been an hour, it's been 2 hours, I need to be turned. So pressure, you are relieving pressure. It's
yes.
The amount of incontinence.
Yes, yes, pressure, I was relieving pressure. In fact, they took care of me. They held me like I am a part of them.
Yeah.
The problem was the acid that was coming out of me. My body was so acidity that the acid level was very high. So anything that came out on me that touched on my skin, there was a skin tear. Yes.
Okay. So while you were at the hospital, why are you getting physical therapy to at least now help you towards your goal of going home, so you can be able to transfer at least from bed to chair, from chair to bed, and so on and so forth, so you can at least be able to have a little bit of independence when you go home?
There was that was suggested that I have physical therapy, but the whole problem was that the way I'm sitting up right now, this is an advancement on my well-being. Yeah. I was not able to sit like that. No, I could not sit down because it's a spinal. There was no muscles to hold me up, because from the belly button around, it was dead. Yeah. So I really couldn't sit up.
Okay. So let's now fast forward. You have been discharged from the hospital, and you're going home. You haven't worked for how many months then at that time?
At that time, I had not worked for 4 months.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you haven't, we all know how it is in America.
Yes, yes.
So when you haven't worked, do you know, for some people, missing one paycheck, it puts you back so far, and to actually, catch up again with just that one paycheck that was missed, it takes a long time. So how does 4 months of being out of work affect somebody?
Yeah, actually, we can go back. While I was in the hospital, I at least I got some physical therapy the last month.
Okay.
yes, I did physical therapy. They wanted to transfer me to a physical therapy facility also, but I couldn't go there.
Hospital physical therapy, physical facility.
Yes, but I couldn't go there because I didn't have insurance. So what they do, the social work came and told me that the hospital itself has programs. And those programs you can apply. If you are approved, then they give you a certain percentage off on your payment. Unfortunately, since you are working class, you don't qualify.
That time you're still working class, even though you haven't worked for 4
Yes,
months?
because they go with last year.
You mean they go with last year's taxes?
Taxes, yes. So I really, I couldn't qualify. And then the other qualifier is that in your bank account you have less than $250. By that time, the hospital will pay full payment for you to be there. But I didn't qualify at
so
that
when
point.
they're looking at $250,
Yes.
they're going back how far?
3 months.
Wow.
Yes.
So you have to have had only $250 in those 3 months.
In those 3 months.
Wow.
And then since I had PTO, so my employer paid until February.
Okay.
I had some friends who donated their time for me. So until February. So really, at that point, up to the time of discharge, I didn't qualify for anything. Then after I was discharged.
What about your insurance, if I can just take you back? What about your insurance? Because your insurance was from your job.
Yes.
The health insurance that was covering your hospital bill.
Yes.
That was from work. Did you continue with your so you had your insurance because you were still getting paid PTO?
Yes.
So you had not switched to
This is
Cobra.
up to February.
Okay.
Then in March, they switched it to Cobra.
Okay.
And the insurance I had is out of state insurance.
Yes.
So anything they were paying for they were paying 40%.
Wow.
Yes. And then
you are responsible for 60%.
yes. And you have been in the hospital for 3 months. So the bill was like $500,000.
Wow.
And they are paying like $157,000. They paid that. And paying the other stuff there and there.
Yeah.
So now, unfortunately, after you are not working any longer, the insurance becomes Cobra, which is very expensive.
Which Cobra, you have to pay what your employer,
Oh, yeah.
the portion that your employer
Yes.
was paying and the portion that you are paying.
And really,
Just so that our viewers could know.
yes, and really, I didn't know how much the employer
It's
pays.
very expensive.
It's very, very expensive. So when I came out with Cobra, really, I couldn't sustain that. No. So at that point, I couldn't sustain. I was in the hospital. My social worker, they contacted these disability lawyers to see by the time that I get discharged, So I did the application online. They brought me application online for the disability, social security.
For disability?
No, they declined it in May.
Because again, they're looking at the taxes from last year.
Yes, but they are looking at maybe you'll get better and go back to work. Maybe. They have all the medical records and still they declined.
This is a year now.
They declined in May and they declined again this September.
Wow.
And in October, I decided to ask for administrative hearing, where they have administrative hearing, which I have not heard from them. So Social Security, disability, we pay that with VICA. When you work, the taxation that the federal tax that you pay, that is you have been putting money into that.
You've been putting money into your Social Security.
And that's why, in fact, I was doing a research, and I found out, I went all the way back to President Reagan. That's why when there is campaigns and all, they always talk about middle working class, because we working class, we sustain the government. So they are trying as much as possible to decline until until you go back to work because
They want you to go back to work.
yeah, because you are more productive working.
Yeah.
And that frustration, if I always say, if it was like my hands that were not working, I would have gone to work.
Yeah.
But here I am on a wheelchair and non-functional. I don't have a functioning GI, I don't have a functional urinary tract, right? You can go back to work. No. You can, maximum now I can lift is like 2 pounds without stressing my spinal cord. So anyway, I got out and, but fortunately, like 5 years ago, the Mr. Wanene, who I think you know about him, they came to my house. They wanted to see what they came with Mr. Mongare, and they came like to sell me life insurance.
I know Mr. Mongare.
Yes, yeah. And I was telling them, Lily, I don't have time to talk about this insurance, life insurance.
You're young.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have life insurance. This is years ago. I have life insurance. I have even life insurance with my employer, of which that time I was at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Maryland. Yeah. And I felt comfortable, and I was very prudent with finances. And when they came to my house, I almost told them, no, please make it very short because I don't want to hear about life insurance. So they told me, no, this is National Life. It's life insurance with living benefits.
Explain that. What is living benefits?
The living benefit, this is life insurance where you are lump sum of life insurance. Living benefits is when you have a class of chronic, critical, and also a fatal disease, that you will not recover.
So did your diagnosis, or does it fit under the clause of chronic?
It did.
Okay.
And surprisingly, some people are sent to you as angels, but if you kick angels out, later they can help you. So what happened is on December 6th, I was in Maryland, and I met with Mr. Wanene, and he was telling me, because on your insurance you only have chronic, you need to make it critical.
Wow.
Because if you get sick now, the critical part will help you, will give a lump sum.
And this is just before you got sick.
Yeah, and I told him, how long are you going to continue selling this life insurance to me?
Right.
So I just I took the paperwork and I told him, when I get back to Fort Worth, I'm going to fax it to you. But I never did. Fortunately, my illness now became chronic, in the chronic part. And I started processing. I called National Life, and I called them, not thinking they have anything for me, but then when they went through my insurance, they found, yes, I could fit in the chronic. And I started now the processing, have to produce all the medical and all that. They kind of delayed on that time because they want all the medical, they want reports from the doctors and all. And while I was waiting, I waited until later, sometimes in July, and they for the chronic they give you 2% on the total amount.
Okay, so let's get this right. So if say your life insurance is say 1 million.
Yes.
In case somebody passes away, that whoever is your beneficiary would be getting 1 million.
Yes.
So when you have living benefits, and you're getting 2%, so you will be getting 2% of that 1 million. Is that
yes,
okay?
2% of that 1 million. If you have 100,000,
you will be getting 2% of 100,000.
Of the 100,000, which they give you at lump sum.
They give you a lump sum.
Yes. So fortunately, I had at that time, although didn't have a large insurance because really I was not.
I'm just throwing in numbers,
Yes,
just so that people can understand.
They understand, and it's not. The thing is, people think that living life insurance with the living benefits is very expensive. Most life insurances, especially from this national group, life insurance carry the cross of chronic, meaning that you can get sick like I did. They have that clause. If you add critical, you can add critical. But in one of the insurance, because I bought split insurances, in one of them I just had chronic on it, a life insurance chronic. But then the other one, I said I'm going to try life insurance with the chronic and EDEX, meaning I'll be earning cash on it. Like you take money in the bank and then you'll be earning your interest on it.
So this is somewhere that you put in your money.
In your money, and they guarantee you that you get interest lowest 2%. So that now also helped because you can withdraw that cash from the life insurance.
Do you have a limit of how much you can withdraw?
No, you don't. And you don't have a penalty. Yes.
Is that the same thing as 401k or is it different?
No, it's different. Because what happens is like 401k, I had 401k.
From your job?
Yes. And I was panicking because I couldn't go back to follow-up appointments without showing that I'm paying. I'm paying some money that I owed to the hospital. So I decided to cash on my 401k. And I caught the 401k with a very high penalty, and then at the end of the year, next year, that is an income that I have to claim to report, and I will be taxed on that because it was non-taxable.
Just so we can explain to people, you take that money out before taxes from your paycheck.
From your paycheck, that's why it is taxable
income. So when you
income.
take it out, you have to pay for the taxes because you never paid taxes on it.
You never paid taxes on it, yes. And even the only benefit you have there is if you have an employer who matches one-on-one. The one-on-one the employer matches, that is not, it will not be taxed because that is already taxed. But if you on 401k, you go above whatever the employer says I'm gonna match on, you are wasting your money because it's a taxable income. And if you take it out, you'll be penalized. And then next year I have to report that I had income, which although I didn't work. Then that brings a problem because next year, if I do the taxes next year, it's gonna show I had income. Right.
And then that affects your
any benefits.
Any benefits that you could get.
Yes.
So say, for example, if you wanted to apply again for Social Security, again it shows you had income, so you don't qualify again.
That's the problem there. And most of it, the Social Security disability really doesn't depend on the income you have. It depends mainly on your disabilities, pronounced disabilities. But my disabilities was not completely pronounced because this is transverse myelitis. Not many people who knows transverse myelitis. Even the doctors who are looking at all this for the Social Security, they say they have medical experts. When they see transverse myelitis, they don't understand. They don't see the whole picture. So that's why they keep on declining. They don't know what are the symptoms of what is the aftermath of transverse myelitis.
If you didn't have insurance, with living benefits,
yes.
Do you think you still would be, would have a roof over your head?
No, I'll be homeless. I'll be completely homeless. Because I even applied for the Texas benefits and they declined. They declined because you had an income last year. They look at income last year. I applied for Medicaid. That's actually, this sickness has taught me a lot. I never knew what's the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. Medicare comes with the Social Security that you put in the FICA and the taxation. That is Medicare, which when you are given, if let's say I get approved for Social Security disability, from that day that I was approved, it takes 2 more years to get Medicare.
Wow.
Yeah, so you are really not covered yet, because the Social Security disability, you are getting it before that age, so it's not full payment. It's some payment, but at least you have something coming in. And then Medicare, you don't qualify because you are working class. Medicaid. And that's what brings me to the fact that, in fact, I'm trying to write on my experience, and I have the topic as middle class, no class financially. Really, that's exactly that. Middle class, no class financially, meaning after you are middle class, working middle class, you have no class if something happened to you, like a sickness that I had, because you don't have any income completely. You get depleted because you don't qualify for anything. But let's go on the other side. If I had never worked in this country at all, I would have left the hospital with SNAP, food stamps, Medicaid, Section 8, and money, SSI. If I had never worked at all. But since you have worked and earned some income, and you know now the middle class is from, if you are making 45,000 and 45 to, I think, 200,000, that's called working middle class. Wow. That's why people become homeless, because you can, it's real, it's a reality, you can be homeless. There's no doubt about that. You can be homeless with the fact that you don't have any income coming. And you don't stand a chance to being approved on anything that is government. And that's why I'm here. I would like to educate the people, especially if you have children, or you are a single person like I am, that if you are the primary income earner, people should consider having this insurance, because that is what's gonna save you. Because with the kindness of the heart of people, they'll do a fundraising for you. But after that, after they are gone, and it is done, you don't have income coming. And you have, right now, every time I go to see the doctor, I have to pay upfront $135. Wow. They won't see me if I don't. And it is tests that I really need, that I'm required to have them. So what I did is to, some of them postpone, some tests to postpone. It's a nightmare. It's a jaguar here. It's a jungle of systems, and the system doesn't work, and it is not favorable for working class. No, it's a jungle that is not favorable for working class at all.
So I'm looking at what people are saying here, just so maybe if you can take some questions.
Yes.
Let me see. Patrick Mwana. I can see a few people here. tagging each other. But Patrick Nganga is saying, what would she say to those who say life insurance of any kind is a waste of money, only for the older folks, parents, etc., and many other excuses? What would you say to those people? Is what Patrick Nganga is asking.
What I would say to them is, in fact, I did a research and found out that what happened to me, transverse myelitis, is very common on people under the age of 30 down to age 2. Wow. So what happened to me can happen with a simple vaccine, even a flu vaccine. Wow. And then if you look at it statistically, the ages between 0 and 25 are having car accidents, which you can lose the ability of working.
Yeah.
So that age doesn't come in here. It's not a waste of time. In fact, the older people have gone through it all. So they are stabilized. Yeah. So they are living their life because they are older, they are old people, they have lived through all the illnesses. In fact, it comes to a plateau where all they have is a chronic disease. Yeah. But yours is acute, does not prepare you on tomorrow. And then, even if you are healthy and working, you cannot save as much money in a savings account where you can say, oh, I have a huge savings account. I depend on that. And the bank itself is giving 0.2%. By the time you make 1,000 from whatever you have saved tons of money. Yes. And that money does not take you far, because what happens if you are working and working and working, then you start investing into other areas, right? Buying. And you become financially depleted by doing that. Yeah. Yes. And especially for us, we invest here and back home. So, lady, you leave yourself unprotected for not having life insurance with living benefits. When it was just life insurance, you might say it's a waste of money. But now this is insurance with living benefits. They gave me what they gave me, and again in April, I will be getting, if I am not back to work, they'll give me another 2%, which is okay, because it's gonna push me to the point where maybe I'll get better and go back to work. Yeah. Because apparently transverse myelitis, after the spinal cord start growing, which grows very slow, it can be 3 to 4 years before I get 80% of my function. Wow. Yes. But in the meantime, at least I have something I can fall back on. Yes. And so age does not come here. Yeah. Even, in fact, I would really encourage even 21 years old to start up with the life insurance, because it's cheaper when you are younger. But after the age of 30, it's going to cost you higher. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I think I am going to have Wanene to come in probably next Saturday. I don't know. I will plan with Wanene so that he can tell everybody, about life insurance with living benefits. But today we just wanted to hear your story because you are, somebody that has been through it, and you have been helped by the life insurance. So I think it's good to to hear your story so people can know the benefits. So I wanted to talk to you today about that. But I want to thank you so much for your time. If you have anything else that you want to add to our listeners, so we can wrap it up. Do you have anything else to say?
To my listeners, I would ask all of you to prepare yourself for disasters, because they happen. I never thought it could happen to me, but it happened to me. And so I would encourage you to protect yourself, protect your family, And even those people who depend on you, protect yourself by having life insurance with living benefits. If you want, you can call Mr. Wanene, and his number is 443-798-8142. Yes. Yeah.
All right, everybody that has been watching, this is Monica Karaoke, and I've been talking to Abidah Chiera. You've heard her story. I will be back again probably next week, but I will post a flyer and let you know when we can talk to Mr. Wanene, and he can give you all the more information about life insurance with living benefits. So please write down your questions so you can ask him at that time. Thank you and so much, and have the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be blessed.